Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session of the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee. Today we have a number of budgets we will be reviewing as we go through the FY26 operating and CIP budgets. Today we are going to start off with our work session on the cost sharing for Montgomery County government, and I want to welcome a guest we have. Senator Zucker is here. You can come on up, Senator Zucker. We're going to start off with you because on a big part of our cost sharing is what our delegation does for us in the General Assembly, and I will say thank you to you and to the Montgomery County delegation for this last General Assembly. We have nearly $135 million in new state investments coming back to the county. In particular, $82.8 million of that is in infrastructure projects like healthcare facilities, community revitalization, arts and culture, housing, parks and recreation, libraries, and others. There is a whole list of the projects in the packet, thanks to Ms. Clemens-Johnson for a terrific packet. And we thought we would kick off with you so you could tell us how the 2025 General Assembly session went, what you were able to bring back here to Montgomery County, and then I'll turn it over to our staff and Director Murphy to go through what the Office of Grants Management is doing on that. So, Senator Zucker, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Distinguished colleagues, just for the record, Senator Craig Zucker, I wanted to thank Delegate Plachevich-Carr and Senator Kramer for providing me the opportunity as well to represent the Montgomery County delegation. Madam Chair, thank you for your comments. I also came here to thank, in particular, you three. And often with county and the state, we hear about how things aren't working well, and part of the reason why I really appreciated the opportunity to be here today is to really highlight what is working well, especially with all of the chaos we're seeing in D.C. Montgomery County and the state delegation is an example of how we're collaborating. So, Madam Chair, the first example of that is when you and I were speaking on a Saturday morning, and we were talking about all the federal earmarks that were stripped away for nonprofits. And I'm sure you and I spoke about it, and through your leadership and the county council and the delegation, we were able to backfill that with state capital funding. So they didn't feel it, but they certainly will feel the benefits of that. And Councilmember Friedson, your ingenious idea a month ago where you saw how businesses were struggling in terms of infrastructure, especially with federal grants disappearing, and you and I sat down in Annapolis and collaborated with the team to really help small businesses with almost $500,000 worth of economic aid for direct grants. And Councilmember Katz, what's interesting is that even though you don't necessarily represent my area of the district, that doesn't stop you from helping out other people throughout the county. And an example of that is the only police satellite station. You were very helpful in the past in terms of helping out with operating money. And again, this is just an example of how the county and the state work together. I also wanted to salute Melanie Wenger and her team. Her team plays a vital role in being a teammate of us in Annapolis. Often there are things that go overlooked that we're just busy looking at sometimes the big picture and we miss the small stuff. And the small stuff is actually very, very consequential. And it'll have both positive or negative impacts on the county. And I just can't thank them enough and how indispensable they are to our entire delegation. So, Madam Chair, I just thought there would be a few things that I wanted to highlight. We were facing very difficult budget problems. And with the capital budget, it's called general obligation bonds. Those are all the capital funding so I got to tell you, I was really excited and we call it GO. So I was very excited that I'd be coming today to talk to the GO committee. This feels like home to me with the capital budget. But, we invested in hospitals over the last 3 years. We've invested more than $6.6 million for Shady Grove Adventist. We have helped to fund Strathmore this past session. We are one of the things that I'm really proud of, and everything that we do in Annapolis is as a team, but one of the things that I'm really proud of that I helped lead as chair of the Capital Budget Subcommittee was investments in our playgrounds in Montgomery County Public Schools. And over the last 3 to 4 years, we've invested close to $6 million, starting with the most vulnerable schools. And that's regardless of where they are in the county, and we've helped to build or renovate more than 40 schools. But for those that are listening and those that are in the audience, one of the things that I wanted to just explain is where our collaboration goes and how it proceeds is we get a checklist. We get our marching orders when we go to Annapolis of what the county's priorities are. And what we do is we systematically and purposely go through that and figure out what we can do, and we're following, when we're doing funding, we're following what your priorities are. So not only are we working with Melanie Wenger, but we're also your advocates in Annapolis. So I wanted to just come here. I know you have the list, but I just wanted to come here to say thank you. Thank you for your continued collaboration, and we're able to accomplish a lot together. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Great. Well, Senator Zucker, again, thank you so much for your collaboration. And we know how busy you are when session when you're in session in Annapolis, and we appreciate that you continue to think of us and particularly think of the folks on this committee as you all are working through that budget. I'll turn to my colleagues to see if they have anything. Council Member Friedson.
Yeah, I'll just very quickly say thank you for the partnership and the leadership. It really is amazing what can get done if you don't care who gets the credit, and just a tip of the cap to you and your role at capital budget. I'm really not sure where we would be as a county without your leadership in that role. I got a chance to see it firsthand going to Annapolis and working with you in the wee hours where it seemed like you might be the only person who knew where, within the bowels of the capital budget, certain money was parked, but to fund critical projects that are just absolutely essential for our community and for our county, and has been a lifeline at a time when it's needed more than ever. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your partnership. It really is amazing. The operating budget is going to continue to be a challenge for us. I'm optimistic that the capital budget and the partnership between the state and the county can be an area where we can help to fill some of the needs in a creative way, and an opportunity that we have. And so I look forward to continuing that. I just had a quick question for you. The $6 million in playgrounds, which is really a remarkable number, how many playgrounds does that equate to? How many schools have been able to benefit from that in Montgomery County?
Yeah, so from what I've gotten from Montgomery County Public Schools is more than 41. And what we've done is about every year we put in and about 1.3 million, and we make sure that every school, every part of the county feels the benefit of the capital budget. And so every part of the county gets a playground, regardless of where they are, up county, down county, really based by legislative district. And because some schools need more money than others, we've been able to really spread that money out, where those are 41 direct schools. That doesn't include any indirect schools that benefit from it, because as we're chipping away at any backlog, it's creating more capacity. But no, thank you for that. And look, I mean, I think what you said is correct. I mean, the way that we try to govern in Annapolis, and as I see you all govern, is, not necessarily by press release, but by doing the right thing and just getting it done. Our constituents deserve and expect that.
Appreciate that. And those playgrounds, which have benefited all of our communities, and I can speak to that myself, it's not just the school, it's really the community, because the playgrounds are used all week long, during school time and after. A lot of them are used by early child care programs before, and after school programs after school as well. So it's a huge benefit. So thank you for that. And I just wanted to highlight, sometimes we talk about the money, but not the impact. And I think the 41 schools is just as important as the $6 million price tag. So thank you, and I'll yield back.
Thank you. Councilmember Katz.
And thank you. And I will try to be brief as well. But one of the best things, Senator, about being elected is you get to meet people who you might normally not have gotten to become such great friends with. And you certainly are to me, and I sincerely appreciate that. And you mentioned that the state had a difficult budget. Of course, we don't. Our budget is very good. Their budget is just as easy as it could possibly be. But you also mentioned that even though you represent one area, you affect all areas. And and many of your colleagues the same way. You understand that. I always tell people, you don't get to vote for me, I get to vote for you. I mean, it's what we do. Because it might not be in your district. People don't just live in a district. They don't just live in a state area. So I sincerely appreciate it. And really, of all the things that you do, the monies that you have brought back is just so helpful. And it really does get us to the next level. Sometimes we have to figure out how we're going to, put this puzzle together. But thank you and all of your colleagues for everything you do. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a team effort.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, Senator Zucker, I hope you can stay for a bit because we'll go through with Director Murphy and Ms. Clemens-Johnson the packet, and I know some of us may raise the issue of making sure we have enough matching money in the budget to do that. As a committee, we had actually requested more money be put in this year's budget to help match some of the money being brought back from Annapolis, and unfortunately, we got a budget that has less money than last year. So we're going to have that discussion this morning and some others. So, but we also understand you have a busy schedule, so if you have to scooch out, we understand that as well. Ms. Clemens-Johnson, before I turn it over you to go through the packet, I just wanted to highlight one thing as we're talking about cost sharing, particularly for Director Murphy and his team, because I know with the Office of Grants Management over the last couple of years, this committee has raised a number of concerns. We've talked long and hard about our community grants and getting things up to speed for our community. And when we have good news and praise, I always feel like it's very important to share that as well. And so I do want to say that in terms of the process for the cost sharing, some feedback I received from a member of our community was that this process was one of the clearest and well-supported government grant processes I've ever been part of. Office of Grants Management had an incredibly helpful information session, promptly answered follow-up questions, and communicated clearly throughout the process. So I just wanted to share that because I know we have shared a lot of other news over the years about our processes, but in terms of the process for the cost sharing, I think the feedback we have gotten for what you've been able to put in place in the last couple of years, it seems to be working well for folks. So we want to be able to continue that momentum. With that, I will turn it over to our staff.
Good morning, and thank you, Council President Stewart. We are talking about the cost-sharing MCG project. For FY26, the County Executive has recommended $4.9 million to support the project. This is a 24% decrease from the FY25 amount of $6.7 million. There are three main projects that are being supported for FY26. The first is the Scotland AME Zion Church Second Century Project for $400,000. There was state aid provided to the Glen Echo Park Spanish Ballroom Project for $1.5 million and $3 million to support the FY26 capital grants. There is a memorandum from Council members Sidney Katz and Gabe Albernos requesting support for the Adventist Healthcare Shady Grove Medical Center included at Circle 11. If we flip to our next page too, I just included a few updates for the committee's knowledge. Per the Office of Intergovernmental Relations report, Montgomery County did well with an estimated $134.9 million of new state investment coming to the county for fiscal year 26. This includes $52 million for public school construction and $82.8 million for other important infrastructure projects that are listed in your packet. The list, as you referenced earlier, is included in your packet, and we can go through that as well. I wanted to highlight the cost-sharing competitive grant process. You just gave us very positive feedback, so I'm sure that that is moving us towards a positive direction. So in FY24, we began the official formal grant review and approval process overseen by the Office of Grants Management. And then in your packet, it talks about the FY25 process. There were 4 awards that were provided to the organizations. And then the Office of Grant Management highlighted also what they saw was a significant problem at the time, was that the previous structure of the capital grants was that large projects had to apply each year, resulting in a significant administrative burden. But by awarding multi-year capital projects, the county can maximize our scarce resources while also supporting our nonprofit partners. For the FY25 grant process, the OGM received 11 eligible applications, 3 for arts and 8 non-arts. There were 2 applications that were that had already secured county funding for the same project, so they were disqualified. And so right now there are 3 reviewers assigned, and they are in the process of completing the reviews, and the awards should be announced soon. And in support of that, also, I'm sure that Director Murphy will go over this, but the FY26 capital share cost sharing capital grants process stage 1 has started to try to gauge what the need is, and so right now there is 1 applicant that has finished their application with 6 others in progress. This information isn't in the packet, but Dr. Murphy can certainly highlight the details if needed. So much earlier start than last year. We're starting, which is great news. So the budget discussion items, I'll stop there and see if there's any questions before we get to that.
No, I don't think we have any questions. Director Murphy, do you want to jump in with any opening remarks or highlights you would like to give us?
Great. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Council President and esteemed Council members, for the opportunity today. For the record, my name is Rafael Pomerlejo Murphy. I'm the Director of the Office of Grants Management. I just want to start with thanking Senator Zucker as well. As a county resident and in this role, we're very grateful for all the money that he helps bring in from the state that certainly me and my family enjoy as residents here. On Wednesday, I was discussing the FY26, helping out an applicant for that process who had won the state award in this last session, and he heard I was going to be testifying with Senator Zucker, and he asked me to pass along his thanks as well and gratitude for the award that he got. So just wanted to pass that on from a nonprofit colleague. For FY25 and FY26, the CE has, within his recommended and the approved budgets, has prioritized all of the cost-sharing capital grants to state matches to make sure that we invest as much money as we possibly can to match our state colleagues. So as I've said before in other hearings, when the state does work for us, we need to do work for the state as well. So this year, again, within the C's recommended budget, the $3 million is all for matching of state awards. That's likely not going to be sufficient. We don't know the level of need yet. That's why we've launched the FY26 stage 1 process, is to collect the level of need and what folks need. But that's ongoing. But you want to note, at least for this particular pool of funds, last year in the FY25 budget, it was $2.5 million, and now it's up to $3 million. So I can't speak to the other projects in the MCG cost share, but at least this pool of funds has been increased to help us match our nonprofit awards. And with that, I look forward to your questions.
Great. Before we get into the matching on the capital grants, how about we just dispense with, because I think they'll be easy, the cost sharing for the Scotland AME and the Glen Echo Park Spanish Ballroom. Councilmember Friedson.
Well, these are 2 very close, near and dear to me in my heart. The Glen Echo Spanish Ballroom, I'll just note, this is an ongoing commitment that the state and the county have committed to in order to leverage NPS, National Park Service funds, in order to renovate the Spanish Ballroom, which is really a county asset. So just want to remind everybody that this is, really year 2 of that ongoing commitment, which is significant. But any of us who have sat through an event at Glen Echo and have the sweat stains to prove it, this will help us to air condition that, just to make sure that this is a facility that can be utilized year-round and can be leveraged for community events. So I just think it's really important. Appreciate the county executive continuing with that commitment, and want to thank DGS for their work, David Dice and others, and Ken Hartman and others who have been involved in that for many, many years and partnered with my office and me. And then Scotland AME Zion Church, this is something that I have been advocating for many years. It is nearing its conclusion. It's a restorative justice project, righting the historical wrongs of many county and public agency decisions that have put the church in a floodplain, which it wasn't, which is at the center of a community that used to be 500 square acres and is now one street with a church across the street, which was used to not be separated and bifurcated in that way. And so this is a modest amount of money given the amount of impact, and we heard significant and powerful testimony, as colleagues will recall, during the public hearing. So enthusiastically support these, and I'm glad the county executive has continued with the commitment in the Scotland Amy Zion Second Century project. This is a continuation of prior commitment that was made, which was a match of state funding that Lily Chi and the District 15 delegation was able to champion with Senator Zucker's help as well, and with the strong support of Catherine and Ike Leggett, who are co-chairs of that effort. So appreciate that and know that we'll support it, and just wanted to acknowledge the details there.
Yeah. I think that will be enthusiastically unanimous decision and recommendation to the full council on both of those projects. And I just want to highlight, I was able to attend the Interfaith Seder at Scotland, and it's just the community there and what they've been able to do, and the small amount that we've been able to support that is really important. So yes, we'll move forward with that. And now we'll get on to the capital grants and the matching for that. And thank you, Director Murphy, for clarifying what we had last year and this year in terms of the matching. I will say that I'm going to propose that we actually add to our reconciliation list additional funds in the amount of 3 different tranches, $1 million and then 2 $500,000 tranches for additional funds for matching. And the reason is because Senator Zucker just did, and our delegation did such a terrific job that we are seeing so many of our community organizations and others be able to receive the state funds and leverage that. And we know that that gets them closer to completing projects, whether it's, the Strathmore Music Hall. We've been talking to Don Bosco and the gym that they're trying to get rehabilitated, and we know that will benefit not only the school but the entire community. I appreciate the letter from Councilmember Albanaz and Katz regarding Shady Grove. We've also received a letter from the Only Theater, and I know our colleagues are probably receiving other requests as well. And I believe that since the Office of Grants Management has been able to set up this process in the last year, that the best way to deal with these various requests we have is to have them go through the process and to be able to be evaluated. But we know, because of the requests we're getting, I'd like to see us put more funds to that. And Director Murphy, as you said, in past years, the requests have outpaced the amount of money. And so as we're going through our budget deliberations, even though we know this is a very tight budget, wanting to have that as part of our discussion moving forward. So I don't know if we get Councilmember Friedson and then Katz and then Director Murphy. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I strongly support the recommendation. I'll remind colleagues that don't need to be reminded that we sent a memo to the county executive requesting that more funds be added prior to the budget. He added some, but I think we need to add more. And so this is, collaborative, not competitive, and I think very much in the spirit of where we have been and what we have been signaling. The Shady Grove project, $6.6 million from the state. We heard earlier from Senator Zucker. There are huge needs there. I'm a strong supporter of those efforts. The Don Bosco Cristo Rey High School had the opportunity to visit with former delegate Mark Shriver, who now is doing amazing work there with his team, was shepherded through and got to see the student-run assembly to start the day in a gym that can't fit. It's not even really a proper, appropriate gym. I mean, this is a facility that doesn't reflect the needs, and those needs are going to become greater and greater as we move forward. You mentioned some of the other projects, very worthwhile projects that have come forward. I think right now more than ever, we're going to have to leverage our state and county funds to work together with our nonprofit partners and with communities to meet the growing needs that we're going to see in our county and in our region. And these are really important investments to make in healthcare, in youth development, in education, in the community building that we're going to need. So, this is how we demonstrate our partnership with the state, and more importantly, the state and county government public sector partnership with our community and nonprofit partners. And I will just note, these cost-sharing grants are one of the types of grant programs that actually are able to be implemented pretty seamlessly. Once we set a clear direction, and we heard from the positive feedback, we are putting our Office of Grants Management in a position to have a finite pool with very clear requirements. These are intended to be matching funds to leverage state dollars. It's a finite pool, and the dollars can go a long way. So thank you for the recommendation. Strongly support it. The 3 tranches, $1 million to $500,000 for the non-arts matching cost-sharing grants, and I think this will take a significant step towards meeting these needs for Adventist, for Don Bosco, for many of the others that will have the opportunity to apply and compete.
Great. And for anyone listening at home, we did say non-arts, but want to make sure people know there is a $1 million for arts in the budget. So I want to start getting text messages. Councilmember Katz.
And do you think that'll stop you getting text messages? But I agree. I go along with what your suggestions. We did receive the memo from Councilmember Albornoz, who's the chair of HHS. And he's sorry he couldn't be here this morning. He's actually working upstairs, I guess, for education and culture. But and from me on that memo. And this is for the $1 million was for the Adventist Healthcare. It's hard to believe that Adventist Healthcare is already 40 years old. And it makes you wonder, because the city of Gaithersburg wrote the original bonds, even though industrial revenue bonds, even though it was not in the city. We knew that every person who lives in the city of Gaithersburg was going to be affected by it. So we've certainly been there from the beginning. We need to make certain that they continue to have a modernization for not only the emergency department, for expanding the psychiatric unit, replacing the intensive care unit, and other necessary improvements. The original cost was $180 million, but the hospital experienced additional costs due to inflation, global supply changes, COVID, and the list can go on. And they had increased to the amount of $246 million. But the Adventist Healthcare was successful in raising $16 million in charitable contributions and has received $6.6 million from the state. And again, we have another reason to thank you. And they additionally requested $10 million from the county, but now they're requesting $3 million. I understand we can't afford everything immediately and all of that, but this is a project that will benefit it will benefit everyone in the county, not just Shady Grove Hospital, because of the forensic medical unit and care for assault victims. So we need to do our part. The state has helped us and continues to help us, and we need to do our part to support hospitals, not just here, but throughout. And so because of all of that, I am in agreement with what you're suggesting. And I also have had very good conversations with former Delegate Mark Shriver about Don Bosco. Those types of places, when you were talking earlier about playgrounds, a playground is not just for a school. People use that playground as it would be a park and as they should. So Don Bosco's request is not just for the school, and though it's important for the school, it's for the community. So I'm in support of all of that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, so we have a unanimous recommendation for the reconciliation. Director Murphy, though, if you would like to speak to it or have any thoughts on the recommendation from the committee.
Just to be clear, just to emphasize how the process is going to work. So right now, the FY26 Stage 1 is a very, very small application. contact information, how much you need, a brief description of the project, and then some optional background information, and then legalese to check off. That's the stage 1 application. So we've made it as easy as possible for these folks who've gotten these awards to quickly get their hat in the ring to let us know how much they need for these projects. And once that closes, Monday is the deadline. We might extend it. Some folks have had trouble with the platform. We're working to help them, but we can transmit a list of that total top line. And so as you go through your process, you'll have a more complete sense of information of what is actually being asked from us, from the county, so that may help inform your votes later on of what is being asked of us versus how much is needed for the various tranches. But then depending on that and how much money you're available, how much the need is and how much money is available, after your appropriation, we'll immediately launch the second stage. We'll collect a fuller application. We'll look at timeline. Could that $1 million being requested, some of that be pushed to a later fiscal year to create space for another nonprofit? Just what you do with the CIP budget, just on a macro scale. So that's how it worked. But right now, we made it as easily as we possibly could for our nonprofit partners to get their hats in the ring so we can get that exact level of need that they want.
Great. That sounds terrific. And I also believe, but correct me if I'm wrong, that there was actually proactive outreach also to some of the or all of the groups that did receive the state money, because I did hear from folks that they actually proactively heard from the county. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that was confirmed.
For the nonprofits, we got the list maybe 24 hours, if not less, from Director Winger, from all her work that she does up in Annapolis, and the ones that I recognize that we had contact information in our database, we reached out saying, hey, this is here, this is for you. But even with the list that Ms. Clemens provided, there's a couple who have not even started their application that I'm already engaged with them on, and what they need to do, how they need to go through, and they're planning on submitting. So I expect the list that she has is very partial. I think that's going to grow.
Great, terrific. And as Councilmember Friesen just said, that was a recommendation from this committee in prior years. And I do want to just say thank you. The work that your office has done to get our cost sharing portion of our grant giving is up and running, and informing the nonprofits and everything else has been terrific. So I just want to say thank you very much for all that work. And we look forward to the additional information as this budget does come before the full council. So if we want to change those tranches when we're considering reconciliation, we can. So great. Thank you. All right. I think that's it for our office, the cost sharing portion of the Office of Grants Management. Again, thank you, Senator Zucker, for joining us this morning for that bit. And now we'll move over to the Office of Community Grants and the community grants more holistically. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Clemens Johnson to walk us through the packet.
So sorry. Thank you.
Bless you. I didn't get to say bless you the last time.
Thank you. The county executive has recommended an increase of $150,695, or 14.43% for the FY25 from the FY25 approved operating budget for the Office of Grants Management. Personnel costs comprise of around 77% of the budget, and there is a total of 6.0 FTEs. There is an increase of $2.4 million recommended from the FY25 approved operating budget for the Community Grants NDA. We will talk about that secondary, but did want to make that note on this cover page. So there is a recommended increase of $150,695 in programmatic and staffing enhancements. The main enhancement that we will discuss is $100,000 for an incoming grant data tracking and approval system. There are increases in compensation, and the RESJ office stated through their review that the Office of Grants Management provides deep commitments in the area of the Government Alliance on Racial Equity framework with the aim of meeting the needs of those who have historically been disenfranchised from such funding opportunities. So on page 2 of your packet, you will find the budget details, and I included the Council President's approach to the operating budget in terms of how the reconciliation works and those items that will be considered for or how we're managing the list this year. In terms of background, there is a summary of the Office of Grants Management, and we also highlighted the work of the GO Committee in conjunction with the Office of Grants Management this year. There was 2 sessions held on November 12th and one on February 27th, discussing some of the systemic issues that we have been seeing since the Office of Grants Management was founded. Resulting from those work sessions was the creation of the advisory work group on a strategic plan for county grants, which was approved by the council on last Tuesday. I believe that group will start meeting. The goal is to start mid-May, and I believe the dates for the interim report are August and November. So the goal, I believe, is by December there is a marching orders and kind of a solidified plan about how the Office of Grants Management will manage their traditional grant programming. The 3 ones: the cost sharing, community grants, NDA, and I am blanking on the last one. So, but either, Community Grant Legacy Awards, which I think has been highly discussed here. I highlighted the operating budget tool, and we did want to just provide a few updates. On page 4, I asked the department to provide information on the grant writers' contracts and how that was managed in working with the different departments. OGM currently has 4 grant writer contracts under the solicitation that is posted currently. Assignments to these grant writers rotates as departments request a grant writer. And just to highlight, in FY24 and FY25, grant writers from this contract worked on 10 assignments. Of those 10, 1 grant was run. 5, the departments strategically deferred their application, and the 4 remaining were submitted but not won. A total of $90,588 was spent on the grant writers by the departments, with $10 million won. So that is a 10,939% rate of return. So I did want to highlight the work that the grant writers are doing and how the departments are utilizing them, and they will continue to be funded for next year as they are part of the base budget. Another highlight from last year was was transitioning to the UNA Grants platform. I won't read through all the detail, but the office highlighted that they have completed 1 grant competition, and they are advancing 2 grant competition programs to the subject matter experts, and currently has an additional 3 competitions now open for applications through the UNA Grant platform. I can let the office talk about this, but there was lots of training that was provided, over 20 hours of virtual and hybrid drop-in office hours, helping people establish their accounts, learning how to utilize the system. But you did note that, as with any system, there are challenges, which have been for both the OGM staff and their stakeholders. There's differences in how the platform functions, accessibility. So OGM is planning to continue to offer more training and train their staff as well as they continue to use the platform. But I believe it has been a positive transition for them. I will stop there before we get into the budget item to see if there are any questions.
Dr. Murphy, did you want to highlight anything or?
Thank you. I'll just want to start with our 2 sides of Office of Grants Management: incoming grants and outgoing grants, and say a few words about each. On January 29th, the Federal Administration rescinded a memo from their Office of Management and Budget calling for an analysis and rescission of a wide range of programs and many of which are high priorities and reflect Montgomery County values, things like climate change, things like diversity, equity, inclusion. So on January 29th, they rescinded that memo, and everyone felt that was the end. They lost, they're moving on, we're going. But later that day, they came out and said, oh no, we're not. And I remember texting, a colleague saying, this is not a retreat, this is a retrenchment. And everything since then has proven that to be true. What we're seeing more and more from the federal government is every time they lose court case, and they are losing court cases, nonprofit states, including the state of Maryland, are standing up and suing the government on many of these restrictions and policies related to federal grants, which we and our nonprofit providers receive from them. They lose, but then they regroup and they diffuse their efforts. So my team, the incoming grants team, I'm very, very proud of the work they do in terms of daily going through the churn and figuring out what's going on, what new policies have dropped, what new information is available. We work very, very closely with the Office of County Attorney on a daily basis, Office of Intergovernmental Relations on a daily basis, who coordinate with our federal delegations. We have roughly $300 million of federal grants. This is not a small amount of money that provide services to our residents, support our projects in our communities, that, if that disappears, that's going to be a huge blow. And so our office is really the tip of the spear in terms of defending these funds to ensure that we stay there and that we are able to expand funds as new federal opportunities pop out. So I want to thank the committee first for the recommendation for the Office of County Attorney's additional position on the grants-focused position. Yes, that will help expedite some of the slowdowns with the approval of outgoing grants, but really a lot of that person's role and importance is going to be having an attorney helping us in departments on a day-to-day basis as we grind through. And I think the metaphor for trench warfare is very apt. It's going to be a grind for these next 2 years, if not next 4 years, as we see back and forth as they continually change their strategies and approaches to, make funding difficult for us or try to push us back. So again, we're very grateful for the Office of County Attorney's work and help with that, but they need more support, and I thank you for recommending, that position. In terms of the data management and tracking platform, there's been some misperception that this is related to the outgoing grants. It's not. This is purely to have a database of all of our grants that we do, track the approvals and vetting it, make sure all the key stakeholders are looking at this. Because again, what we're seeing from the federal government is, for lack of a better term, poison pills being inserted into the terms and conditions of what, if we want the federal funds, you have to do this. Some of those are manageable, some of those are being challenged by courts, some of those are being forced to be changed by the courts. It's an ongoing grind to see what we can do, how we can stay compliant. And so this system will ensure that streamline the approval and the vetting of all of these grants as they go forward, as well as be able to better track compliance to ensure that we are able to hold on to the federal funds we have. And as we get new federal funds or we seek out future federal funding opportunities, we can make sure we're not signing up for something that we're not ready to do as a county. So that's an extremely important system that we're asking for. In terms of pivoting a little bit to outgoing grants, with unit grants, that is a big part of that platform is a project management platform. So as we go out and we seek state and federal funding, as we win those awards, the departments can manage those awards within the platform more seamlessly and again with better compliance. What they also have is a proprietary function to scan the internet for private sector opportunities or foundation opportunities and help our departments go after this other funding source more efficiently. It's, as any nonprofit can tell you, it's like finding a needle in the haystack to find foundation opportunities. This helps us do it. The Office of Animal Services has already won an award using this that we found, that we posted to them, and they've been able to get an additional $50,000 to do some extra projects within there. So that's already working. It's already paying for itself. In terms of outgoing, I want to thank you for the past positions you've supported in other budget years. We've gotten the staff that we need within the Office of Grants Management. I think really going forward, it's not about how much money for this to support, but it's really how we do our grant programs. How are we going to approach grants? Are we going to do it in a way that's going to create this enormous administrative burden that we can just throw an endless amount of staff at? Or are we strategic? Are we focused? Are we, as many of you have already said today, that makes these more seamless? For FY25, the transition to us helping departments put their funds out as grants, a better vehicle for nonprofits, has already exceeded the amount in the Community Grants NDA. We are on track to implement 16 department grant programs, $17 million total is the projection. That's department-based budget funds that are being put out as grants or competed as grants, whereas there's only $10.9 million total in the NDA across all grant programs FY25. So we're already exceeding the Community Grants NDA in terms of grant funding to nonprofits from base budgets. And I expect in FY26 that trend is going to even exacerbate, as already more and more departments are coming to me saying, for FY26, we want to try this as a grant. We want to compete these funds as a grant. In terms of getting our work with the racial equity lens, we collect so much data that we don't have time to really dig through. It's kind of a luxury to kind of do that back-end analysis. For one of the county executives' budget forums, with the Black community, they did ask me to do a drill down, and I was able to do some analysis of kind of have we started to be successful with implementing ResJ approaches within our grants. So within this, for the FY24 community grants, in that competition, 19% of the awards went to Black-led organizations, 32% of the funding went to Black-led organizations. For Underserved Community Projects Fund, 27% went to 27% of the awards went to Black-led organizations, and 30% of the funding went to Black-led organizations. And Community Projects Funds, which is a small grant pool, 42% of that went to Black-led organizations, and 44% of the dollar value went to there. So as with those three programs, we're highly intentional with a lot of great feedback and support for the Office of ResJ. How can we integrate these considerations into our grants programs in the legal way? I think this data, which is just partial, just shows that if we are intentional how we do these grant programs, we can make county funds more accessible. We don't have historical data to compare this to, but I think this is probably pretty good compared from what we think it might have been. So with that, pivot back to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director Murphy. So if we go back to the Office of Grants Management before we get to the NDA, I think there's one budget decision, correct, Ms. Clemens-Johnson, in terms of the incoming grant data tracking and approval system. And I think, Director Murphy, you answered my question, because I think it was some of the things is understanding, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the UNA, and what you're doing with UNA and what you're doing with the new tracking program. So these are separate things. It's not to replace that, correct?
Correct. And not every department is going to be using UNA. So we do need this separate platform to be tracking all of these other grants and have that database of them. UNA really, for the incoming side, is really a kind of a project management platform and grant search platform. It has very, very different functionality. And if we tried to put this function into UNA, we would be spending a lot more money changing that platform. We'd have to be training a whole range of stakeholders who don't need to be going into UNA how to use that platform. Whereas if we stick with a TEBS developed platform, it's going to look and feel like all the other types of approval and data platforms that the county has. And also it's going to be more accessible, and folks are not going to need the same level of training they would if we tried to cram it all into UNA.
Great. And you're expecting this to be developed and rolled out in FY26, and that don't see any problems with that?
No. As soon as appropriation, assuming we get the appropriation, we will move forward. And most of the costs, again, are one-time costs with setup. The maintenance, I believe, is somewhere in $30,000 range for the long term. But again, it's the amount of staff time that is spent just collating efforts and grants. I think that it will make it a lot easier for us to, again, make sure that we're in compliance, make sure that we're aware of threats, make sure that we're, the right people are all seeing these things before the county's making any commitments.
Great. Well, I have no objections to that, but I would ask Ms. Clemens-Johnson, just like we did with the Board of Elections, to request from TEBS just a breakdown. I'm fine with going with the county executive's recommendation on the Office of Grants Management's budget, but I would like to get into the practice when we have things like, I think for Board of Elections, it was something at $300,000, and we've gotten that information. Today it's $100,000. Just to know from TEBS what that money, how that breaks down, because I think it's important, as Director Murphy, as you said, what is one-time money to get us set up and running versus what is going to be ongoing funding. So, but I have no objections with accepting the county executive's recommendation. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's with that, and then we'll let's turn it over to the Community Grants NDA, and back to you, Ms. Clemens-Johnson.
All right. Thank you. And what you requested is noted. So on page 10 of your packet, we start with the Community Grants NDA. The FY26 recommended amount from the CE is $13.3 million. This is a change from the FY25 amount of 22.5%. I have listed in your packet the programs to be supported, the largest of which is the multi-year grant awards for $6.2 million. The legacy awards are next of $4.7 million. The $1 million for the nonprofit technical assistance and management support grant is $1 million for the nonprofit incubators grant, and the inflationary increase that will be discussed at full council, and that will be provided if approved by the council to the nonprofit partners that are funded through the NDA. Just in terms of an update, monitoring the grant performance, I questioned the Office of Grants Management of how they were making decisions in terms of performance. So if somebody is underperforming, how do we define that? How do we discuss and engage with that organization? So the office provided the following details. They really take a different approach when it comes to all of the grants, depending on, they notice like if they've made timely and clear progress and timely and clear progress towards their award goals, challenges faced, innovative solutions that they faced. So it looks like the Office of Grants Management really just engages with the awardees on a case-by-case basis, depending on what their issues are. Some of the issues OGM has reported are missing or incomplete reporting demonstrating the impact of funds, low performance against stated goals, not adhering to approved budgets with the program spending, and not adhering to program scope and or lack thereof from recipients. So the OGM states that, they monitor very small amounts of grants. So this role is really that of the department to stay engaged with the Office of Grants Management to tell them about how progress is going with certain grants agreements and if they would need to talk to those organizations jointly, maybe to discuss those issues. So I will stop there before we get into the budget discussion items.
Great. I think I wanted to delve into just a little bit more on Ms. Clemens Johnson, what you were just talking about the performance measurement, and particularly Director Murphy, how, and Ms. Clemens Johnson just started referencing that for the different departments, and as we're looking at the community grants and these legacy grants, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, are we moving towards something that is more standardized in terms of evaluating performance? Or it sounds like it's being done on a case-by-case basis right now.
So this is where you get the divergences between, again, how I framed it before, the targeted or the department and the targeted grant programs and kind of these traditional open-ended grants programs, where with the departments, they set very clear measures, very clear goals as you apply for the program. The organization says how they're going to achieve those goals, what their milestones are, what their metrics and targets are going to be. And then we run the grants competition in partnership with the department, but then after the awards are made, we're more hands-off and we're more in a troubleshooting support mode. If there's an issue with a grantee, the department is responsible for monitoring and checking and making sure that they're meeting those targets, which are outlined very clearly in the grants agreement. And if they're not, or if they're not reporting on time, or if there's other issues, they're not meeting their milestones, then we work with the department on corrective action, including canceling grants awards if that's legitimate. And all that has to be documented and whatnot. On the community grants, we in Office of Grants Management oversee directly, we administer this kind of departmental role for about half the community grants. So we're the ones who are collecting reports, we're the ones evaluating them and signing off. Are they meeting their metrics? Are they meeting their targets? And if they are, then we give them their next tranche of payments. And also with the underserved community partnerships projects, that is also being administered directly from our office. All of the legacy renewals and then the other half of the community grants, all of those are being overseen by departments who traditionally or historically have always been overseeing these awards. So if this was one of the awards that we've had since FY18, that's stuck with that same department for the most part, and they're the ones administering it now. So they're the ones, just like a targeted grant program, they're the ones looking at the metrics, they're the ones collecting the reports, they're the ones who are monitoring the individuals. If there's an issue, they raise it to us and we help them navigate that and push through. So there is a little bit of a mix. I think it's, how it works is kind of standard in terms of the roles and responsibilities. Just for some grants, we're the one administering, which is not really in our scope of what OGM is built to do. It's like procurement, managing a procurement contract for on behalf of the department. But again, since community grants don't really fit, in the department, that's we've kind of taken that on. So I think there is more of a eagerness, and I know this is one of the recommendations in Nonprofit Montgomery's recent report, was to create more of a standardization in how we approach it. And I think you're seeing more of that with the targeted grants programs where, yes, there is more of a standard federal method of evaluative approach and how we go through that. It's with these kind of historical programs that we still are kind of doing things the old way, which yes, they're being monitored, yes, they're being looked at, but there's less of a formal way of doing that than there has been. And part of that is also the diversity, the range of programming. So often, like, nonprofits ask me, can you give us a template? And it's like, well, I hesitate to give you a template because your programs are so unique. And maybe this template might work for you, but this is cause problems for your partner. So we'll give you a very broad one. And so I think that's often the challenge is when you have this huge diversity of programs, when you try to standardize things, it's not going to work for some organization, some types of programs more than others. When you have targeted grants programs, yeah, it's a very clear mission, very clear objective, very clear target. You can standardize things very easily. For these open-ended grants programs, it's much more difficult. So there's more of a broader criteria.
Great, thank you.
Is that helpful?
That's very, very helpful. Can I ask you on the community grants for FY25? How much have the funds been distributed to the partners now?
All funds have been encumbered.
Okay.
I'd have to do some sort of budget run to see how much money have actually been paid out, but all funds have been encumbered for all the FY25 community grants.
Great.
We are working to encumber the FY25 funds for the UCP right now. Their FY24 award just recently ended, and we're renewing those, so we're encumbering those funds. Legacy awards are also all encumbered as well. So that was a mix of FY24 and FY25 encumbered funds. The only funds that are not encumbered are the incubator funds and then the nonprofit technical assistance grants. So those, I need to get those competed out. So.
And do you have a timeline? Do you know for?
Very soon. The
Okay.
the NOFO. It's with the federal situation. I've invested a lot of time in that, and then just kind of I think also the needs of the nonprofit communities are evolving, if not getting worse, on a kind of a day-to-day basis as we see these trickle-down impacts. So as with everything in the budget, there's a finite amount of money. How do we direct that at needs? And so I think that's kind of shaping how do we do that. The nonprofit Montgomery's recent report helps give some clarity, helps give that, but even that, it's how do we structure this NOFO to do it? My option, what I usually opt to is leave, and what I'll probably be going with is more open-ended NOFO and let the nonprofits tell us what they need, as opposed to saying, this is what we think you need, apply for this. Mm-hmm. So.
Great. And I will mention at this juncture that last week we did pass the resolution to establish the work group to help us look at the path forward on community grants and the legacy grants. I think in part of that resolution we also had the cost sharing, but it sounds like the cost sharing, as we just talked about, has been getting up and running really well. And I will just say on the legacy grants, we've talked about this on the committee. We said it last year. It is just a real disappointment that we are here again this year and continuing with this. And so I'm really hopeful that the work group will roll up their sleeves, help us get a path forward, because I don't think just continuing this, honestly, is equitable or fair to the entire nonprofit community here in Montgomery County, and we need to find a better way forward. Before we get into the budget issues, I just want to see if my colleagues have anything on these points. Councilmember Friedson.
Yeah, well, thank you. Echo all the comments that you made, Madam Chair. I didn't get a clear understanding. Do we have a timeline for the technical assistance and the incubator grant programs?
Launching within the next week or two, and then it'll be probably open for a month. And then the way we're structuring it is, again, we'll be looking for a nonprofit partner to be providing these services or support to other nonprofits. And so we're looking at only a couple awards, big, deep chunks of money, really investing in capacity building. So that takes care of a lot of that'll make the administrative side of it go a lot quicker. But yeah, we will get these funds encumbered before end of FY25.
Okay, so the goal is to encumber. I mean, you're pretty tight against the clock here. Can you share with us the exact timing of that at each step of the way when it goes public? I assume there's a NOFO or some public notice, and then when the funds are actually encumbered, and then when they're actually distributed to the recipients?
I can provide you those updates.
Okay.
Everything is advertised through our newsletter. We've had and another contributing factor has been there's an end of fiscal year rush with departments coming to us with grant programs that they want to put out there. So we've been helping a number of departments put out their programs as grants. So so that's all part of it. But the newsletter has been delayed a little bit as we've dealt with this churn and trying to like hammer down the timelines. But it'll go out through the newsletter. I can send you, like I did with the cost sharing capital grants and the launch of that process, I can send you a special notice. I'll be reaching out to the likely folks who I know who are on a weekly basis are reaching out to me saying, when can we apply for this? When can we apply for this? We have all these ideas. When can we apply? I'll be doing proactive research to them that, hey, this launched, this is up. And then I can give you the timelines of the process of when we're doing our information session, when it closes, when how we go through it and move towards final execution of the awards.
I appreciate that. And we're going to get out of this cycle where we're expending fiscal year funds in the final days of the fiscal year or in the wrong fiscal year. So I just want to reiterate that. I share the frustration about the legacy grants, that it looks like this is an increase, but not to the actual organizations who are making requests, who are meeting the needs of the community, because most of the funds are being soaked up in the legacy grants and the new funds are not increasing at the same level. The packet notes departments are offering similar issue-focused grant programs from their base budgets or special funds. Is there a listing of that? Like, can an organization go to your website or go to some finite place and say, okay, here is every single county grant program in the bowels of every single department that they can apply for?
We don't have that fully for FY26 yet. Some departments have already, another product that we have, we update usually weekly, is what we call the grant program forecast. And it's like a long-term view of the grant programs that will be coming out and when we expect to compete them. So some departments, Office of Food System Resilience has already got a plan, and we've already published it for their planned FY26 grants, with the big caveat, of course, assuming appropriation. So there are other departments I'm working with who are already thinking about FY26 and when they want to what they want to put out. But I don't have that final list yet. I think that's
okay. The Office of Food Systems Resilience, which is great, but you have a unique relationship with them, so that's like the lowest of the lowest possible hanging fruit, to be honest. And it's a teeny tiny department that does great work. We have much bigger departments that do lots of things that are probably happening that it would be very difficult for someone to know what is happening unless there was a clearinghouse for it. And one of the main reasons why your office was created was to have a clearinghouse. And one of the ongoing frustrations that many people have are statements like that. We have an Office of Grants Management, but unfortunately, that's just the tip of the iceberg of where the grants are, and you have to go into each department and figure it out. And maybe it's public, and maybe it's not, and maybe it's on their website, and maybe it's not. And so we need to tighten that up in a much more significant way. You should know every single one of those projects that are happening, every single one of the timelines that are occurring. You don't have to be running it, but you need to be aware of it. And then there should be a clearinghouse, and I think it should be you and your website that says, here's everything that you run, and here's everything that everybody else runs. And if you want to go to what other people run, here's how you do that. And we can't say there's no wrong door when there is a wrong door, and it feels like a black hole for a lot of the organizations. So I am very hopeful that that becomes the process moving forward, and that we can go to one place, we can direct people to go to one place, they can go to one place, and it's very simple to understand, how to apply for funds. I mean, the reality is, I'm okay if the answer is not everybody's going to get what they ask for. I'm not okay to explain to people that it's not clear how they ask, or where they ask, or to whom they're supposed to ask. That's where the issue becomes.
And we, in a lot of ways, we already have achieved that in the sense that all grants have to go through us. Just the same way all procurement contracts have to go through the Office of Procurement, any grant competition has to go through the Office of Grants Management. It will appear on UNA. It will appear in our newsletter. It will appear on our grants forecast. What the knowledge gap is I don't know the department's individual budgets of what they're planning to put out as grants until they reach out to me and say, hey, we've got this funds we want to put out as grants. It doesn't show up. So that's really, it's all going to show up in the products that we've already started. It's already going to show up in us as a clearinghouse. If they want to do a grant program, they have to go through us. I think what's often the misconception is that all nonprofit funding is grants. And grants remain a very small minority of the nonprofit funding. The vast majority of nonprofit funding is giving out as procurement contracts. And I think that's where the big confusion is folks are coming, and it's there on our website. I say, do you know that less than 10% of the county's nonprofit funding is given out as grants? And here's the link to the procurement solicitation page, and you guys should go there and check that out as well. So that's kind of where the gap is there's an assumption that we are the main source of nonprofit funding, and at least right now we're not, or like the grants will be. So I think there are all these other areas in county budgets, and so mapping that out for nonprofits, because it is, the department's money is being given out as procurement contracts. I don't have access to their budget. I don't necessarily have access to there, but I do make that point in every presentation I think I give is, hey, if you're looking just at me, you're missing opportunities. You need to be also looking over.
Who does the reporting for those grants? Not procurements, that's a separate dynamic. Who does the reporting of that?
I'm sorry.
Is that the individual department? If they're running their own, but it has to go through you as a clearinghouse, are you reporting on that?
Oh yeah, we build we build the program in UNA for them. We make sure it complies with all of our requirements. We make sure that they're integrating Res-J considerations into their design of their project. We draft the NOFA. That's an administrative service that we offer to departments. Is we competed on their behalf. It's their money. It's their policy directive as shaped by council appropriations. But the administrative service we do for them, and also part of us holding these standards. It all goes through us. It'll all appear in UNA.
Okay. So my suggestion would be that we set up a timeline, that you set up a timeline, that the CAO sets up a timeline where you find out about those sooner in the process and that you are able to share publicly, not that, the deadline started yesterday, once it's in UNA and you've set up the process and all of that aspect, but in 30 days, there's going to be a process so that people can prepare for it and think through it. In well-run foundational dynamics, most nonprofits know there is going to be an available foundation grant that they're going to apply for, and they have time to prepare. A lot of them have boards. They have to decide whether or not they're going to even compete for the funding. They have limited staff. They need to plan for it, and I think that's one of the challenges too. We can control that part. So I know that's not on you, that's on the departments sharing the information with you earlier in the process, but we can set an expectation. They all work for the same person. You and they work for the same person. And so I think the CAO could set that directive. So if you could share that, and if that makes sense to you, I think that would help so that folks can prepare for what's coming. Because one of the issues is there might not be enough time by the time they're aware of it. It may be too late for them to turn it around and actually get their application and request in.
Can I suggest that maybe we add that to the scope of work for the advisory work group, that maybe they develop a policy or something?
Perfect. Sounds good. Great idea.
Great. All right.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, Ms. Clemens Johnson, why don't we go through the budget discussion items?
Okay, thank you. You already started this conversation, but the first item is 1.1, the continuation of the FY25 legacy renewals for $4.7 million. If there's any discussion, okay, we will move on.
No, I think we've discussed this, and I'm not sure there's anything but to say yes and accept the recommendation from the county executive.
Understood. We will start with decreases. There are 3 programs recommended for decrease, grant programs recommended for decrease. The first for discussion is the Community Projects Fund small grants for a negative $1.2 million. In FY25, this grant program was funded for $1.2 million and was available for small in emerging and volunteer-led organizations. There was actually another $200,000 that was added in FY25. The FY24 amount was $1 million to mentor, train, and coach the small and emerging organizations. So the council staff posed the question why this program was recommended for elimination, but they just stated that because of budget situations and reductions that had to be made, it was recommended that this program be eliminated. Since these aren't ongoing programs, that it would not result in service losses. The CE decided that reducing this funding would have less of an impact on residents than other potential reductions. The department or office did note that departments, and we just kind of talked about this, are now offering similar smaller issued focused grant programs from their base budget or special funds. So even though this funding pool may no longer be available, organizations will likely have an increasing number in dollar volume of other grant opportunities to apply for.
Yeah. I think we touched on this just a little bit, but I was kind of surprised. I just want to say, Director Moore, I was kind of surprised given what we have been talking about, Office of Grants Management kind of being the tip of the spear, as you mentioned before, and helping our smaller organizations, especially during this time. And so I don't know if you want to speak to this reduction a little bit and really how you see us continuing to support our smaller nonprofits and others who were the recipients of these grants or could have been.
So these were, the community project funds was one-time short-term projects that, it was geared towards, and I know there was concern over the definition and the criteria that we set of what counts as a small, emerging, and nonprofit and what doesn't. But these were geared towards smaller organizations. There's a lot of volunteer-led organizations who, they can do, with $5,000, they can do some great stuff with no administrative costs or overhead. And so it was again with the idea in previous GEO hearings I talk about creating lanes. You create a lane for small organizations, volunteer-led organizations that are not going to be able to compete with a bigger, even medium-sized organizations, same pool of funds. So that was the idea for this, but because these are all short-term, one-time projects, there wasn't seen as a long-term impact if there's a long-standing program that you're going to be cutting that's been having an impact, is entrenched in the community, that would have a bigger impact than these things that are by definition one time. Also looking at some of the other funding pools, I apologize, I don't remember the full name of it, but the commission that manages the marijuana tax revenue is going to be a very, very, very similar scope of work or types of projects that they want to support. And so that's going to have about, I believe, $800,000 to $1 million a year. So you've got another funding pool where we can say, okay, this pool of funding isn't available, but here's a different funding source for you and your community to apply for and maybe support the exact same type of thing. It's just you're going to a different place you're applying in a different place. So that was looking at that. And again, the top line stat of, the community grants NDA was only $10.9 million in FY25, and we've already done we're on track to do $16 million in non-NDA funded grant programs. And already more and more departments are coming to me. And again, they're not on that list, and they should be. It's helpful for me in my planning of my staffing time to know when we're going to be competing stuff. But I think there is going to be these other types of opportunities coming out. And maybe this is not there, but hey, there's 2 or 3 other ones that they might have available.
Great. Any other questions on this? No, the committee will accept the recommendation.
Okay. Our next item is 1.3, the decrease for the nonprofit technical assistant and management support grants of $1 million. The executive has made this recommendation that the amount be reduced from the FY25 amount of $2 million to $1 million. I will note in FY25 the recommendation was that the money bumped up from $1 million to $2 million. So this looks like it's bringing it back down. The original vision and significant FY25 investment in that grant program was to capitalize on trends in federal grant making that increasingly have been providing funds to nonprofit partners directly instead of like the county. Those funds were aimed to strengthen nonprofit partners' ability to secure and manage complex federal grants. Due to the changes with the current administration, we are seeing that that the administration has deprioritized the county's competitive grant advantage, and federal grant opportunities have been drastically reduced. So the funds will be bid out, and the NOFA will be released soon with a new focus on building nonprofit resilience and pursuing alternative funding resources. So I guess that being not just federal. It remains in the county's interest to have the nonprofits develop a more diverse set of funding resources. So the funding has reduced, or has been recommended to be reduced in FY26 to accommodate the difficult budget year in a more focused scope.
Right. And I think we discussed this before with the Finance Council member. Rita, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm okay with this. I mean, I'll just note, we added, we doubled the funding, but the money hasn't gone anywhere. So, I think it makes sense to reduce the funding, but I think it's reasonable to be frustrated that the money was increased to express an urgency to meet the needs, and yet the funds aren't going to go out until almost 12 months, actually more than 12 months after it was approved, but almost 12 months after the fiscal year started. But I think accepting the county executive's recommendation is reasonable given what we heard earlier.
Good. Agree.
Okay, the last item is the decreased continuation of FY25 grant winners of $505,477. The executive reduced this funding amount for the award winners to create enough bandwidth to fund all the legacy renewals. I think Dr. Murphy could discuss this, but I think this is reflective of even what we were talking about of performance. So people that received grant awards, they may underperformed or maybe didn't spend their money on time. So this was funding that the county executive saw that they could recoup to help support the FY26 grant award winners.
Yeah, Director Murphy.
Sorry, just want a clarity on that. That actually, it wasn't a reduction based on performance. It was there was a budgeted amount of how much was supposed to go to the Community Grants Award winners, but when we made the actual awards, the amount was lowered by this amount, the 500,000. So there's only actually 5.2 million. So this adjustment actually just reflects how much was actually awarded last year as a continuation as opposed to a reduction because of performance.
Okay, so we did this last year. So people who got community grant, who got the awards we're not taking money away from them.
No. This is, they are getting the level funding plus 3%.
Yeah.
If there's performance issues, we can cut their funds or not renew their grants for another year, but that's ongoing. So, but this is just level setting from what we actually did versus what was in the original budget.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, how are we off by 505,000 when we're just renewing legacy grants if it's not based on performance? I'm just trying to understand. Did we just overshoot it? We calculated wrong? It was a math problem, accounting issue?
Well, legacies were not part of the FY24. They were within the NDA, or the money was in the NDA, but that in order to fund the legacies, money was shifted around within the FY24. And so bandwidth was created by reducing the community grants NDA amount winners.
So where is this money coming this year? I guess I'm confused.
Yeah, why is this a reduction? That's what we're trying to figure out.
It's a reduction to the overall amount in the NDA compared to last year's budget.
But didn't we do that last year? Sorry, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I thought we dealt with this last year because we said okay to the legacy grants to move forward last year. So I thought we took the reduction already.
Because legacies are funded by a mix of fiscal year money, it wasn't a clear this was funded in this budget year versus that year. So it was a mix of FY24 and FY25 funds. And so this is just kind of writing that and removing that mix where everything's being funded by the same fiscal year.
If I recall too, the council, which is why we had those committee meetings, didn't weigh in on the legacy awards.
Yeah, that happened after.
It was awarded after, so we never discussed the budget details. And so I think maybe that's where it's missing for maybe council members, because we never discussed the details of the budget. We did during committee once they were awarded,
right.
But we did not talk about the process by which they funded them. So it just said it was funded by the executive, but we didn't see where the pools of money came from to help fund the.
Well, this particular item encapsulates a lot of the frustration. It includes the challenge of having multiple fiscal years carrying over because of a process that hasn't worked. And confusion when you read this. It's very confusing if you read this as a stakeholder, and it says continuation of FY25 into FY26, which presumably would be additive. And yet you look at the chart and it is subtractive. That is a very challenging dynamic to understand. But yeah, I mean, such is where we are, I suppose.
Yeah, Councilmember Knapp.
Yeah, I agree with the confusion. There again, if the money came from FY24 and additional money came from FY25, where is the money now for going to be that was there from FY24? There had to be a higher number rather than a lower number. I don't understand how this works.
The FY24 funds were unencumbered funds from the NDA that were shifted, and then it was pumped into existing grants agreements. So that encumbered the FY24 funds an additional 12 months. So we just extended their grant terms and gave them additional money to fund their programs for those grant terms. So it was basically a 14-month extension from their FY24 award.
I guess
that answers it. Can I just step in? Okay, I think you just answered the question, which is way clearer.
Yeah.
Unless I'm mistaken, there were 14-month expansions, and now we're only funding 12-month expansions. And so the 2-month addition would reflect the $505,000.
Correct.
Well, then
Okay.
that does,
All right. So
All right.
let's.
I recommend leading with that part, because that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That you did, because we haven't been on fiscal years, because we've had a lot of rollout issues with this process, there were 14-month extensions. We only do 12-month fiscal years, and so for that reason, we have a difference.
Right, so
Okay.
let's revise the packet for full council to reflect that when we did the legacy grants in FY24, they were for a 14-month renewal, and so this year it's for a fiscal year, 1 year, which results in a reduction of $505,477.
Yeah, it's really annualization from 14
Yep.
months to 12 months.
Yep.
And that's really how it should be reflected, much clearer.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but I heard that and I said, now we have an answer.
yeah, well, that was the best answer because I couldn't get there, so I appreciate that.
So I think we're good with that, and we'll change. So in looking at the continuing the legacy grants, the reductions we had in the 3 categories, this committee accepts the county executive's recommendations. So, and again, thank you so much for all the work. We're really looking forward to the working group on this and continuing moving us forward. So thank you, and thank you to your whole team. We appreciate all the work. All right, now we're going to move on to the Public Information Office. Terrific. This is, I think the next couple of budgets are pretty straightforward, so I'll turn it over to council staff to walk us through the packet.
Okay, good morning. So getting into the Public Information Office, the county executive is recommending an increase of $49,683 or 1.68% from the FY25 approved operating budget for the Public Information Office. The executive's recommendation also includes a $173,760 increase for compensation adjustments and required operating expenses. These items reflect a continuation of current staffing and service levels. The operating budget equity tool analysis for PIO states that efforts to advance racial equity and social justice in the Office of Public Information are evidenced by its targeted commitments in each area of the GAR framework, particularly in the areas of normalize and organize. PIO has designated targeted staff time and fiscal resources for an RESJ coordinator/liaison position, in addition to devoting resources to outreach and communication efforts designed to reach diverse communities in the county. On page 1 of your packet, you will find Table 1, which summarizes the county executive's recommended and approved operating budgets for FY25 and FY26. This encompasses the general fund, personnel costs, staffing, and operating costs. And on page 2 of the packet, you'll find information about the background and functions of the Public Information Office, alongside a detailed OBAT analysis. Next, on page 3 of the packet, you will find Table 2, which summarizes all of the county executive's recommended budget changes for PIO. Overall, the executive's proposed FY26 budget for the Public Information Office is a same services budget that only includes compensation and non-discretionary operating budget changes. The budget does include, however, an internal shift of 3 FTEs within PIO. This is from public relations to web content and graphic management. And when the department was asked about the shift, they stated that these positions were previously funded with the cable fund, which has since been fully shifted into PIO beginning in FY25. The positions were initially transferred to the public relations program, but are a better fit within the web content and graphic management program, as the positions are focused mostly on creating content for the cable channels. Thank you.
Terrific. One, I just want to kick off and say thank you to Ms. Anderson for stepping up as acting director at this time, and Mr. Peterson, thank you for all your work. I'll ask if my colleagues have any questions or anything. No, this is pretty straightforward. The committee will take the county executive's recommendation for this budget, so thank you very much. All right, moving on, we'll go to the Office of Intergovernmental Relations. Yeah. Okay, we can start when you're ready.
So for the Office of Intergovernmental Relations, the county executive is recommending an increase of $25,822, or 2.56% from the FY25 approved operating budget for the Office of Intergovernmental Relations. The executive's recommendation also includes a $42,880 increase for compensation adjustments and required operating expenses. These items reflect a continuation of current staffing and service levels. The operating budget equity tool analysis for the Office of Intergovernmental Relations states that by virtue of its mission, OIR has the ability to influence and facilitate decisions that greatly impact outcomes for county residents facing disparities and disproportionalities. The office has detailed how they plan to include racial equity and social justice in aspects of their work. Below, you will find Table 1, which is a summary of the county executive's recommended and approved budgets for FY25 and FY26. And on page 2, you'll find some information about the background and functions of OIR, as well as more information regarding the OBET analysis for the department. Something of note is that OIR has a dedicated RESJ lead who works to advance racial equity and social justice. Moving on page 3 of the packet, you'll see Table 2, which summarizes the county executive's recommended budget changes for OIR. Overall, there are no budget changes of note. The budget reflects contractual requirements for maintaining operations. And that's all for me.
Thank you. Thank you to the team. This was quite a year in Annapolis, and we appreciate all your work. And we heard from Senator Zucker earlier this morning, but Wagner, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything else. It was a pretty straightforward budget.
It's straightforward at 90% personnel and really no changes. So appreciate your time and effort looking at it, and really don't have a lot to add other than that.
Great. I will note just for folks that Councilmember Friedson had a funeral to attend to this morning, so he has left. But the 2 remaining members of the committee vote to support the county executive's recommendation on this budget. So thank you for being here. Thank you all.
He didn't leave because you were there.
No.
I just wanted to be noted. Yeah, that's right. What did I say? That's right.
All right. Next, we have the Office of the Inspector General. Okay, all set.
Awesome. So for the Office of the Inspector General, the County Executive is recommending an increase of $482,243, or 13.35% from the FY25 approved operating budget for the Office of the Inspector General. The Executive's recommended increase also includes $115,417 in programmatic and staffing enhancements. This is encompassed by one enhancement, which is to add one investigator to the Education Oversight Division, which we'll get more into later in the packet. The Executive's recommendation also includes a $376,646 increase for compensation adjustments and required operating expenses. These items reflect a continuation of current staffing and service levels. The Executive's recommendation also includes a $9,820 decrease for the elimination of one-time items approved in FY25. The operating budget equity tool analysis for the department states that the Office of the Inspector General continues to demonstrate a strong commitment to advancing racial equity and social justice through its current and planned work in each area of the GAR framework. The office's support for core team members, their professional development, and their role leading the office's racial equity and social justice efforts is noteworthy. On page 2 of your packet, you will find Table 1, which details the County Executive's recommended and approved operating budgets for FY25 and FY26. There's also some information about the background and functions of OIG alongside their OBAT analysis. And on page 3 of your packet, you will find Table 2, which summarizes all of the County Executive's recommended budget changes. And as we move through the packet, I'll go over each relevant change. The only item for OIG is an enhancement to add one investigator to the Education Oversight Division in the amount of $115,417. When OIG was asked about the rationale and the impact of the additional FTE, OIG responded stating that the recommended one FTE will be used to assist in addressing complaints and also allow OIG to be more responsive to community concerns. OIG also shared that MCPS is a high-risk area of oversight, and currently the Education Oversight Division has 4 staff. However, OIG reported that additional staff are needed to meet the demands of the division. OIG has regularly devoted the time of additional staff members who were reassigned from their regular duties to assist with MCPS issues and investigations, and the reassignments have impacted OIG's ability to perform timely, relevant work in other county departments and programs, and has extended the timeframes within which OIG performs their other engagements. Currently, the EOD has 1 manager, 3 position, and 2 investigative analyst, 3 positions, an investigator, and 1 investigative analyst, 2 position. For some context around staffing, Bill 1119 was adopted by the Council in October of 2019, and this bill expanded the Inspector General's duties by 1, requiring the OIG to conduct a systematic, risk-based rotating review of the internal accounting and contracting processes and controls used by each department and principal office in the executive branch, and 2, required the OIG to audit high-risk county contracts and agreements. The bill also requires the Council to ensure that the operating budget for OIG is sufficient to provide the services required by this law. As part of the revised FY23 to 25 work plan and projected budget, OIG has updated the ultimate staffing complement needed to 23 FTEs by FY25. OIG added 14 FTEs total between FY20 and FY25. The one proposed position for FY26 is specifically geared towards MCPS oversight and was not part of the original estimate of 23 FTEs. For vacancies, the Office of the Inspector General reported that they have 1 vacancy, which became vacant on March 24th, 2025. This vacancy resulted from an internal promotion, and the position is currently being advertised with a closing date of April 3rd, 2025. Overall, OIG aims to have the position filled by mid-May. And lastly, on page 5, you will find a summary of the budget changes, which are to be discussed for committee consideration. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Lamarzi. Thank you for being here and all of the excellent work of the Inspector General's office. I think, having your office and the work that everyone does is so critical. And I will just say, as we I think this committee has always expressed our thanks to you and the work you do. And given where we are in our country right now and what we're seeing happen at the federal level, I am just so glad here in Montgomery County we continue to have a very strong IG's office and the work that you do with our department and our agencies. So I didn't know if you had any opening remarks you wanted to say, or...
I always have a few things to say. First, thank you for having me. I'm always very pleased to be here before this committee. I really do appreciate the support that the entire council and specifically this committee has given to our office. The opportunities we had this fall to discuss the projects that have come out of our office and to have continuing dialogue with the departments and the agencies that are subject to our oversight really has moved the needle forward in driving change in the county. And it's just been an absolute advantage. I talked to a lot of inspectors general throughout the country, and we really do benefit from the support of the council as well as the executive branch. And my discussions with Dr. Taylor at MCPS, everyone really is interested in this county about doing right by our residents and being as careful as they can with the resources that we have. And as I've talked about with you before, there are really two main components to the work that we do in our office. We have our hotline, we respond to complaints, we conduct investigations, we do a lot of helping the residents or anyone who calls our office that just needs to ask a question, and we help direct them in a lot of the right ways. So far in FY25, we've had over 300 complaints, about a third of which relate to MCPS directly. The other component of the office is our proactive work, our reviews, our audits, our inspections that we do. That really is the vehicle that drives the change here in this county. So our budget request year after year is continuing to grow and support our capacity to meet the demands of this county, to be responsible in that proactive work, because the proactive reviews and audits and inspections that we do, that's how we meet our mission of increasing efficiency and effectiveness here in the county. That's how we strengthen controls and how we prevent as best we can and deter fraud, waste, and abuse in the programs that are funded by our tax dollars. So you have in the executive's recommended budget one position to add to EOD. That is a completely growing area for us. I've told you before, we sort of kept a list of areas we thought needed to get a look at MCPS, and I got to the point this fiscal year where I couldn't just keep holding there. So I had to redeploy other staff and assign them to MCPS. So this is the first year we have 3 proactive engagements at MCPS. 2 should be finished this fiscal year. 1 will carry over a little bit further. But that's really critical work to sort of driving change in their processes and updating a lot of what's going on there. The other side where we do a lot of our proactive work, of course, is our audit division. And we heard talk about Bill 1119, which will live on in infamy and gave us our mandate for audits. But I would be remiss to not point out that this is the 3rd year in the budget with level staffing there. We have gotten to about 42% of the principal departments here in the county. What that means is if we continue at this pace, and it is driven by staffing, you will get to 2029, which is a full 2 terms of any inspector general, not just me, and you won't have gotten to every department, let alone the responsible rotation of getting there every 4 to 6 years. So that is a critical component. We're constantly trying to think outside the box and be creative in how we can meet that mandate. I've used staff, again, from other divisions to do parts of that work. We've tried different configurations. We really are always conscious of the budget. And I know very well how difficult this year is and the years coming forward. But the work that our office does really is an asset to the county. It is going to reap benefits to the county at higher dividends than probably any other office you hear from in this committee. And so just as you continue to make decisions about budget and our budget and the council, just ask that you keep in mind the value that we add and the abilities that we have when we have the right staffing levels.
Thank you. Councilmember Katz.
You know, thank you very, very much for what you and your department does. You give us information that we all need to hear. You make us stronger. I know that, and you're a comfort to us. But I know there's at times when you're looking in a various department, it might not be as comfortable for them at that moment, and that's not a bad thing. We want them to be as efficient and as they possibly can be. And I think to the greatest degree, and it's that we have always found that. I mean, there have been things that need to be corrected, and sometimes it's because we've always done it that way before, rather than, and if you do something wrong long enough, it doesn't feel wrong. It feels like it's part of the system. So every year is a difficult year. You say for budgets, it's just different in every year in different ways. But I do think that you truly do, and you and your department, do a wonderful job for Montgomery County and all the departments. The other question that I do have, and I know you're not going to be shy on this, but when you need additional resources, please do not hesitate. We stand ready to work with you to figure out the best way for you to go forward. But if we don't know that you need X, we many times we wouldn't offer it. So please let us know.
Great, thank you very much. Councilmember Cass, I just want to know in which direction you're going. Obviously, I would, as Ms. Lamarzi said, this is a very tight budget year, and I think looking at all the puts and take, I would actually like to recommend we add this to the reconciliation list, because Ms. Lamarzi, I would actually like you to come before the full council. I know, hate to drag you back over here, but I do think it's important. I think in years past, this committee has generally recommended your additional positions and everything, but I think in particular, this is a critical year for the full council to hear from you directly about the need for this position. So I'd like to put it on the reconciliation list. Good with you?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you back here again.
Thank you both. I appreciate your time.
All right, moving on, we have independent audit. Mr. Seelar, come on down.
Hello. So I'm
morning.
Chris Seiler, Director of the Office of Legislative Oversight. So item number 7 is our NDA for the independent audit. It's a same level service, same budget. I think there's a 2,493 increase, which is just the increase in personnel cost staff from FY25 to FY26. And Blaise DeFazio is here. He actually runs the audit to answer any questions that you have about it.
Great. I'm not sure we have any questions, but Mr. DeFazio, if you wanted to say a few words.
Don't have really much to add. We had a pretty good year. We have a great relationship with SB and Company and Finance. So, and I guess we continue to have good audit committee meetings in the spring and in the fall. We have lots to discuss.
Great. All right. I think no objections. The committee will recommend the county executive's budget.
You certainly kept in mind, take yes for an answer.
That's right. All right. We'll move on then to the Office of Legislative Oversight.
Okay, so this is item number 8 on your agenda. County Executive recommends an increase of $338,379. This is for the position that was lost last year during reconciliation that they had recommended that we didn't get. Again, I recognize it's a difficult budget year, so we'll see how that goes this year. And the rest is the increase in salaries and compensation. Otherwise, it's the same level service budget without that position. I was pleased to have from the operating budget equity tool state that we demonstrate in OLO a deep commitment to advancing equitable outcomes for both its staff and Montgomery County residents, as evidenced by the breadth and depth of their work that encompasses all 3 areas of the GARE framework. Again, that's driven, I think, a lot by the County Council and their emphasis on this and making sure that we emphasize that in OLO. I don't really have anything else to say except for that we are still, again, this goes back to the position that was last year. We are still operating at the same level we did when there were 9 council members and before we started doing environmental impact statements. So, we're losing basically we've lost the ability to kind of correct mid-year or add mid-year projects. I think we've added 1 this year. I'd like to be able to add more of those. But, it is what it is with the budget. So I don't have anything else to say, but I'll take any questions.
Great, thanks. Councilman Ken? Yeah, I would just, I think I would recommend this go on the reconciliation, given the tough budget year and what we just did to the Inspector General's office. But Cecilia, I would say that in the description, one of the things that I think was missing this year, we talk about the expanded council members, but also that the staff hasn't increased since you had to do the environmental impact statement. Okay, I would add that for the full council discussion, because I think that's understanding the full workload of OLO. I think is really important as we continue these deliberations.
Okay, I will add that.
Great, awesome. All right, well, we will see you back here at full council then.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, now we have our legislative branch communications outreach.
Okay, good morning. So we have 2 items here which fall within the county council purview. This is the smaller item and the hopefully the more quick item. But the legislative outreach communications MDA provides funds for different communication activities across the legislative branch departments. So not just the council office, but the other legislative branch departments as well. The executive recommends a same services budget, which is $102,000, 528 increase, which is 3.9% from FY25, and all of the increase is based on the compensation adjustments and non-discretionary operating cost increases.
No, I think we will take the recommendation from the county executive, and just to add a huge thank you to our legislative branch's communication outreach. Does an incredible job, and just want to thank them for that. So we will now move on to the next item, which is the Office of the County Council.
Great. So for the Office of the County Council, this is again a same services budget for FY26. There's an increase of $687,785, or 3.6%, which is related to compensation adjustments and non-discretionary operating cost increases. Before I talk about any budget issues, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the team and the staff in the council. Both the central office team and the team in council member offices are absolutely terrific, and I would take them against any other office or department within the county government or county agency. So I'm glad they're here, and and I really appreciate all the work that they do. Indeed. So they're a pleasure to work with and make my job and a lot easier to do in helping the council do the work that you all need to do. So our total budget request for FY26 is $19.9 million. This includes both the fund for the central office staff as well as the council member offices staff. It's all combined in that $19 million number. Our operating budget equity tool analysis is shown on page 2 of the staff report, and the OBET analysis indicates that the County Council demonstrates a strong commitment to advancing racial equity and social justice. The strengths that were identified in the OBET analysis include an established and active and well-supported core team, as well as the Council's efforts to normalize and organize racial equity are also well established. They also noted our continuing progress on workforce equity, deepening relationships within the community engagement partners, and developing data collection and analysis standards for racial equity and social justice initiatives. And I want to give a lot of credit to Ms. Mindy Singleton for leading the council's efforts in all these areas. The OBET analysis also identified some opportunities, specifically to augment multicultural communication teams' public outreach efforts with additional equitable engagement practices, and those are things we will certainly work on during the course of FY26. The only budget discussion item I want to mention is that there is a In the position adjustments, it does show an increase of positions, and this reflects two changes that were actually made during FY25, where two part-time positions, one in the central office and one in a council member office, were converted from part-time to full-time. So it's not an actual increase, but it does show in the budget as a small increase in FTEs. We did not identify any potential reductions in the Office of the County Council budget, since we are primarily almost 90% personnel costs, and we are funded at the same services level. However, if requested by the committee, staff will certainly review options for savings and operating costs that we could find. I don't have any off the top of my head, but we would certainly look for some and see what we could do if that is requested, with the understanding that any change in operating costs would potentially impact what we can do in any given year. The last item I did want to mention is also on page 3 of the staff report. There was a request, and a memo is attached to the staff report from Council Vice President Jawando and Councilmember Fani Gonzalez to add funding to support a sports tourism task force feasibility study. The council last year approved a sports tourism task force to look at a whole slew of issues, and that task force has requested 2 funding options to consider for a feasibility study. One would be a cost of $100,000 to partner with the Maryland Stadium Authority on a comprehensive study of the sports landscape. The total cost of this study is estimated to be $200,000, but the funding in this option would potentially be split with the Stadium Authority at $100,000 each. A second option is $75,000 to hire a third-party consultant to conduct a feasibility assessment of a multi-use indoor sports facility. And if the committee supports adding funding for either option, it would be placed on the reconciliation list. I note that this was recommended as a potential item in the Office of the County Council budget just because there wasn't really a better or different landing spot for it. If you do put this in our budget, we would just kind of serve as the administrator to help their procurement process, but the task force would be the ones who would kind of organize and coordinate the work associated with this funding. So with that, the only really discussion point would be the consideration of this recommended addition to the on the feasibility study.
Great, thank you. And I know we have members of the task force here, and I want to thank you for the recommendation and the work that you're doing. Appreciate the letter. I would recommend with my colleagues agreement that we add to the reconciliation the $100,000 to partner with the Maryland Stadium Authority. That seems to be a wiser option, looking more broadly at a comprehensive sports landscape study than to go out to hire a third-party consultant to look at something a little bit smaller for just a little less money. So I think we can add that to the reconciliation list and bring that to the full council.
Yep. Very much.
We agree with that. So I think that is the only item on that we need to discuss, and I just want to say thank you to Ms. Marin. It's nice to see you as the Deputy Director for Operations. This is the first budget you're going through in this role, and I'm glad to have you here. So I think with that, we're good on this budget. And I think that was the last one. That was it. So thank you to everyone, and our Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee is adjourned for this morning.